We're still in Chapter 2, Section 1, and this is the third and final part of the lecture. We're going to see a little bit of crossover between Lesson 1 and also Lesson 2. We're going to be talking about farming in the plains. The Great Plains is an area in the Midwest of the United States that's going to allow for cattle and farming. On the right side is the map, which we're going to have to look at identifying. This is a very flat land, which we talked about in the introduction lesson. Not a lot of trees, not a lot of shape or things to block wind. Considered an open range, and the vocabulary word means it's a vast area of land that the government owned where cattle could graze. By 1865, 5 million cattle or animals were roaming in this area. A famous animal on the open range was the Texas Longhorn cattle, and these are cows. They were brought over by the Spanish 2 decades earlier, and they could survive on limited water and just prairie grass. Pretty crazy that animals helped form the United States, and you see the Texas Longhorn from the University of Texas. Here's some images of the actual longhorns. So the Civil War, what leads to the Civil War after that is beef in 1866. The Civil War is going to cause hungry soldiers. Cattle are going to start being slaughtered for food at a high rate, and beef prices are going to begin to soar. So there's going to be a shortage in beef. So the solution was to move cattle to make money, and this is going to expand. The long drive, another vocabulary term, is going to be rounding up cattle and driving them to the railroad towns. So what you'll see is the cattle trails and where the cattle was actually kept and brought to the runway or to the railway tracks. So you see a long and treacherous walk or drive. Some of the images that you see, honestly, pushing through. I'm having a few cowboys on the outside pushing them into the direction. Now what's going to happen is, because there's so many different people bringing cows, they had to find a way to brand them to be able to sell them or tell them apart. So what you see is the creation of the brand. Each of these cows are going to be labeled with their own brand, and it's going to be obviously a hot piece of metal that's burned. Okay. So at the end of open range, many ranchers are going to brought animals to trails, so they become blocked. Prices of beef is going to plummet in the 1880s. Farmers started to growing crops instead of cattle, and this is where we're going to have the introduction of barbed wire, which we're going to talk about as one of the new inventions. This is going to keep animals fenced in the way we see farms today. But hey, cattle led to the expansion of America, so move over. Here you see the barbed wire that you see on the fences of today. Sad but fun fact is in 1877, horrible harsh winter. With the feet of snow, cattle froze to death, unfortunately. And you can see some of the imagery from the cattle themselves. So, new settlers in the southwest United States. Spain owned the land in the southwest, and it lost it to Mexico. And then they lost it to the United States. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, residents retained property rights and could become American citizens. Haciendas are large ranches that are set up by Spain. They covered thousands of acres. The issue, of course, is these people could be overrun by the gold rushers. The population of California, for instance, is going to rise from 14,000 to 100,000. So you see so many people are coming in. But there are going to be clashes with the Mexican Spanish Americans. As we did with the Native Americans, we pushed these Mexican and Spanish Americans off of their land. We treated them like less equal, like we did the Indians. And what we did was we stole their property and their land. So the West today, Hispanic population, by country, you could still see that there's a large amount being pushed towards the border. Not necessarily coming over the border, but it's where we push people to see. So in this last lesson, you're talking about the whole idea that we move people, we move the Indians north, we move the Spanish south, and we pushed across for the hopes that we would have land from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific.